セーフ。
びっくりした。
大丈夫？
2026 is genuinely cooking. Sequels are eating most of the headlines, but the new adaptations this year have been quietly putting in some of the best work I've seen in ages. So let's get into it. Here are 10 new anime, in no particular order, stealing the spotlight in 2026.
書いてる。魔法をペンで。じゃああれは杖じゃない。魔法はかけるんじゃなくて書くんだ。
I'd been waiting on this adaptation longer than I'm comfortable admitting, and somehow it's even prettier than I'd hoped. Kamome Shirahama's artwork was always going to be the obstacle. Those panels are dense, delicate, and almost embarrassed to move, but the anime treats every spell circle like a tiny ceremony, every line of ink like it matters. Koko's whole world cracks open the moment she realizes magic isn't some divine gift, it's a craft, and the show holds onto that wonder without ever turning it into a power scaling exercise. The pacing is slower than what's trending right now, and I love it for that. This is the kind of series that rewards you for actually sitting with it.
こんな俺を茜は好きでいてくれた。その思いに応えたい。父として、落語家として。
ねえ、どうしたの？ねえ、おっかってば。あの日、あの時から始まったんだ。
A teenage girl walking into a male-dominated traditional Japanese art form, not for clout, not for a feel-good moment, but to systematically dismantle the man who destroyed her father's career. That's akane-banashi, and the adaptation has been delivering exactly the kind of energy that made the manga blow up. Rakugo is essentially solo storytelling on a cushion, which sounds impossible to animate, and yet the show makes those performances feel like fight scenes. Every pause, every shift in posture lands. The vocal cast deserves serious credit here because half the tension lives in the delivery. It's a shonen story dressed in a kimono, and watching it weekly has become one of the small, genuine pleasures of my 2026.
たった一つ勇気じゃ。
ほんじゃ行ってこい。よう帰るために。
後に奇才軍師と称される彼の伝説が今始まる。
Picture a future Japan that didn't just collapse, it regressed. Industry gone, government shattered, the whole nation thrown back into a Meiji-era aesthetic that looks pulled straight out of an old Kurosawa film. What's left has fractured into 3 warring kingdoms, and somewhere in the middle of all that ruin is Aoteru Masumi, an ordinary man with no special powers, no chosen one prophecy, just a thirst for history and a tragedy that pushes him toward unifying what's broken. The art direction alone makes this one of the most visually distinct shows of the year, with that muted, almost sepia palette doing half the storytelling. Brutal, deliberate, occasionally hard to sit with, and absolutely worth your time.
お願いします。この私を守らせてやる。
お前が必要だ。
王子様作戦。
練習。
全然ダメだよ。
最高の結婚できるかな。
もちろん私がついてるからね。
ふつつか者だがよろしく頼む。
これは毒使いゲロヒカルの婚活物語である。
Hikaru Gero is one of the deadliest assassins in the Poison Clan, and he's just been handed an ultimatum: marry and produce an heir, or his sister gets forced into bearing one against her wishes. The catch is that she's in love with her girlfriend, and Gero refuses to let any of that happen to her. So he turns to Mei Kinosaki, a brilliant marriage swindler, to teach a stone-faced killer how to actually date a woman. Their dynamic is the entire engine of this show, and Bones Film plays it perfectly straight. While the situations spiral into chaos, the OP is dangerously catchy, the action is sharp, and the comedy is hitting more often than it has any right to.
隣の席の鈴木さん、いつも話しかけてくるけど、それは自分のことを何とも思っていないからこそできる軽いノリ。そう 思ってたのに、いつの間にか鈴木さんに話しかけられるのが日常になっていた。
谷君、一緒に帰ろ。テレビアニメ正反対な君と僕。
Shoujo romance lives or dies on chemistry, and Suzuki and Tani have the kind that doesn't need contrived obstacles to stay interesting. Suzuki is the bright, bubbly girl who follows the crowd even when she doesn't want to. Tani is the quiet, withdrawn boy who has no problem saying exactly what's on his mind. The show refuses to drag misunderstandings out for runtime, and what's genuinely refreshing is how kind everyone in it is. No toxic exes, no jealous best friends sabotaging things, just two people slowly figuring out how much they like each other. The first season wrapped in March, a second is already locked in for July, and honestly, that turnaround tells you everything about how good this is. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
チンパンジーでもあんな動きできない。あんなことできる動物、地球上に存在しないよ。
なんとかして彼を引っ張り出さないと、我々 ALA の戦争に。
僕は何の代弁者でもない。ただの一匹の動物。ただのチャーリーだよ。
In the opening minutes, a baby is rescued from a research facility. He grows up in a human family, attends a human high school, falls into human friendships. He also happens to be the world's first hybrid of human and chimpanzee, and his existence drags him into the crosshairs of an extremist animal rights group that sees him as either a savior or a symbol. The anime doesn't just adapt this premise, it leans into the discomfort of it, refusing to let any side off the hook. Shun Umezawa's writing carries a documentary precision that makes the violence land harder than louder shows ever could. This is one of the most unflinching, unforgettable series, and it deserves every conversation it's sparking.
あれなんだろう。
お前は一体何を呼び出した？
全て壊して。
この聖杯戦争そのものを打ち砕く。
私は合衆国のために魔術の全てを捧げる。俺のことは信用しなくていい。俺は君たちを利用するから、君たちも俺を利用してくれ。君のことを信用しよう。
The light novel has been around long enough that I've basically given up hoping for a full TV series, so the fact that it's here and it's good is something I refuse to take for granted. Snowfield, Nevada becomes the stage for a holy grail war that was never meant to exist, with 7 masters, 7 servants, and a false assassin who shouldn't even be on the field. Narita's refusal to play the hits is what makes this work. He throws away conventions the main franchise spent 2 decades building, then dares you to keep up. The production team clearly understands what they're handling, and so far, this might be the fate entry that finally converts the holdouts.
生きてやる。ざまあみろ。これより先は覚悟ある者だけが進める戦場。流した涙でみそぎは済んだ。私は姫高さくら。身分は春の護衛官。そしてこちらにいらっしゃるのが嘉陽ひなぎく様。この国の春の大公者であらせられる。
When the agent of spring, Hinagiku Kaio, gets abducted, the entire world is plunged into an endless winter. Her loyal guard Sakura Himadaka spends years searching for her, and when Hinagiku finally returns, the two set out to restore the missing season and confront everything that broke between them. This is Wit Studio adapting a novel series by Kana Akatsuki, the same writer behind Violet Evergarden, and you can feel that lineage in every frame. The melodrama is dialed up. The score from Kensuke Ushio carries serious emotional weight, and when the show shifts from quiet melancholy into spring's full color palette, it genuinely lands. Not subtle, but never trying to be. Easily one of the most striking spring premieres.
何書く？私、確かシャッター街に。なんだろう、この人たちの格好。なんか昔っぽいし、透けてる。幽霊？
Rumiko Takahashi, decades into her career, is still putting out long-running, fully committed series, and that alone is a small miracle in this industry. Mao isn't reinventing the wheel she's been spinning since the 80s, and it doesn't need to. Nanoka, a modern schoolgirl, slips into the Taisho era and ends up bound to a cursed exorcist with unfinished business stretching back centuries. The pacing is patient, almost old-fashioned in the best way. There's something deeply comforting about watching a master return to familiar themes of curses and reincarnation while bringing decades of refined craft to every scene. It's not the loudest show on the 2026 schedule, but week to week, it might be the most reliable.
ちびゆき待てよ。
昔から思っていたこと。五十嵐のこと好きなの？調子乗ってんじゃねえよ。なんでそれが冗談や行為なら許されるのだろう。ねえ、私の気持ちは？
Koyuki Hikawa has spent years building emotional walls so high that her classmates call her the Ice Queen. She keeps her distance, she sticks to her one close friend, Miki, and she's perfectly content being unreachable. Then, Minato Amamiya enters her life and starts quietly, persistently chipping away at every defense she spent so long building. What I love about this is how honestly it handles social anxiety and the small terror of letting someone in. From Kocha Agasawa, the same mangaka behind You and I Are Polar Opposites, it carries that same warmth and refusal to manufacture cheap drama. Studio Kai brings it to life with real care. If you've ever felt like a ghost in a crowded room, this one's for you.